Okay, now let's look a little bit at what the different armies do. Okay, first we have the Mohawk here. For the Mohawk, Mohawk is a half mechanical, half electronic entity which spreads across an area as large as several states. It was Mohawk that brought about the fall of humankind in 2020. Now, after 30 years have passed, it's even bigger and more powerful. Hordes of machines search through the barren lands in pursuit of what's left of humans to destroy them. All orders are transmitted from within Mohawk's body of several interconnected artificial brains that scheme on the latest plans of the ultimate conquest. Despite its military and technological advances, Mohawk forces lack the natural intelligence and flexibility of humans. Now, among its advantages, high toughness of units is one of the most important. Thanks to this, more units remain on the board after each battle, as compared to the opponent's forces. A considerable number of units skilled in ranged combat and reinforced by modules to create literally unbreakable line of machines capable of inflicting heavy damage upon enemy HQs. Its own one being protected by highly effective blocking units. On the other hand, Moloch's army is not as mobile as the other ones, and the deck has only a few battle tiles, which does not give the controlling player an upper hand in deciding about the moment a battle should start. A good idea is to place the HQ in one of the corners of the board and surround it with heavily armored units. Then surround the enemy HQ to prevent it from moving around. Finally, a number of shooting units with varied initiative should be placed in a line to break through enemy defenses and damage the HQ. Another opportunity is to place a unit in a convenient place and use the pushback action. HQ itself, thanks to its special strength bonus, can be well used for attacking the enemy. A good idea is to place the HQ near the enemy one, provided that enemy HQ does not escape too easily. They have, the standard 3 instant tiles, and then along with that, they have an airstrike. What an airstrike will do will wound one target on a hex and all spaces adjacent to it. Okay, it cannot attack the edge of a board and does not affect the HQ. So say we had the board set up like this. Okay, imagine this guy surrounded by all these tiles. The Mohawk player could show the airstrike. Say I'm targeting this tile here, and then that tile and every tile adjacent to it, including its own army, will gain 1 hit point. The move instant will allow you to select one unit on the board and move it 1 hex and then spin it to any orientation you choose to. Okay, pushback will allow you to choose one unit adjacent to your own and make them move back 1 hex away from that unit. Okay, they cannot switch their orientation. They must stay the same way that they were before they moved, but they must move 1 hex away from that unit. We already explained what the battle token does, so we'll move on. Now we have modules. The medic will allow 1 unit adjacent to it to not get hit, basically. Okay, what happens is if a unit is attacked by another tile on the board, okay, that unit, instead of taking damage, can use the medic to take damage, and then the medic tile would be discarded. Okay, but if the tile that was attacking would attack both the medic and the unit it is attacking, the medic tile would be attacked first, and then whatever tile is adjacent to it would be attacked. This guy here is the scout. We've seen it in action. Any unit that is attached by the spoke to the spoke will get +1 in initiative. This guy here is the officer. Any unit attached to one of the spokes will get +1 in the range attack strength. Okay, so if a unit has a range attack and it is adjacent to it, instead of doing 1 damage with its range attack, it'll do 2 damage. This guy here is called the brain. What he will do is give 1 strength in damage for melee and range units. Okay, so similar to the officer, where they'll give them +1 damage when doing a ranged attack, but also we'll do it with a ranged unit too. Okay, finally we have the mother module. I did show that during the game overview. Anything connected to this module by the spoke will be able to take another turn with its lowest initiative. Alright, now we get into our warriors here. Okay, first we have the Hunter Killer. As initiative of 3, does melee damage on 4 sides. Next we have the Armor Hunter. Okay, he has armor on 2 sides, meaning he'll absorb 1 point of ranged attack, and then he does melee on all of his sides, and he has an initiative of 2. Then we have the Hornet. He has initiative 2. He does 2 points of melee damage on 1 side. Okay, next we have the Blocker here. He doesn't do any attack, but he absorbs 1 point of ranged attack on this 1 side with the armor, and he has 2 toughness points there, giving him a total of 3 life points. Okay, next we have the Net Fighter. He will throw a net on 2 sides. Then we have the Clown. The Clown's a little unique here. Okay, he has an initiative of 2. He has a melee attack on 2 sides. He has a toughness of +1. Okay, but he can also, instead of attacking, explode and destroy any units adjacent to him, including friendly units. Now we have the Armor Guard. He does ranged attacks on 2 sides. He has armor on 1 side and an initiative of 2. Then we have the Stormtrooper. He has a ranged attack 1 side. He has +1 toughness, and he can be activated on initiative 2 or initiative 1. Now we have the Juggernaut. Juggernaut has armor on 3 sides. He can do 2 damage in melee on 1 side. He has 1 ranged attack on another side, and he has a +1 toughness. And he has an initiative of 1. Here we have the Guard. He has initiative 2, does ranged attack on 2 sides. Now we have the Gauss Cannon. Okay, he has an initiative of 1. He has a ranged attack on 1 side, but this works a little different than any other ranged attack. This guy will shoot at anything in a straight line, and he will do damage to anything in that line. Okay, he will not stop at the first enemy unit like most ranged attackers will. He will go to a enemy unit in front of him and then continue on down that line on the board. Okay, and he has a toughness of +1. Next we have the Hybrid. Okay, he has a ranged attack and an initiative of 3. And finally, for the Moloch, we have the Protector here. Okay, he has an initiative 1, is +1 toughness, and he has ranged attack on 3 sides. Now the Hegemony is a land ruled by gangs waging constant war for domination. The gangs set off to loot and kill, spreading terror far beyond the borders of the Hegemony. Strength and physical prowess are highly valued among the gangers, their favorite pastime being violent gladiatorial games. Now the main advantage of the deck is a fair number of net fighters who can be used to disrupt enemies' most daring actions. Additionally, the deck includes a balanced number of battle, move, and pushback tiles, which makes it quite mobile. Few shooters make this army more close combat oriented though. The tactical advice for this army, the Hegemony, is net fighters should be particularly well placed to disable the maximum of enemy units, including his HQ, or to protect the Hegemony HQ from approaching enemy units. The HQ itself, thanks to its special strength bonus, can be well used for attacking the enemy. A good idea is to place the HQ near the enemy, provided the enemy HQ does not escape too easily. Now with the Hegemony, we have the 3 usual instant tiles, pushback, move, and battle. But he also has the Sniper. What the Sniper will do is allow the Hegemony player to choose 1 unit of the opposing army and that unit will take 1 wound token, and then you would simply discard the sniper like you normally would with an instance tile. Okay, now for the modules, first we have the boss. Now the boss will give any adjacent tile attached to that spoke 1 point in melee damage, and then 1 point in initiative. Okay, so if this guy here were attached to it, instead of doing 1 point of damage with his melee attack, he would now do 2, and then he would also go on an initiative 3 instead of an initiative 2. Okay, next we have the quartermaster. Quartermaster will let a unit that is attached to it by that spook change their melee to a ranged or their ranged to a melee attack. Okay, now we have the officer. It gives you +1 melee damage to any unit attached to the spook. Then we have the transport. Now the transport works a little different. Now normally in the game, anytime you lay a tile down on the board, that tile has to stay in the orientation it is, and it cannot move. Unless it has this mobility symbol here, this arrow in the gold circle. Then a tile can move 1 hex away and then change its orientation if it chooses to. Okay, now with the transport token, any unit that is attached to it, friendly unit, can now move an additional movement. Okay, so if this guy was attached to it, he can move once and then spin if he chose to. Now this benefit will take effect as soon as the transport token is placed on the board. The transport token itself cannot be moved. Okay, and then finally we have the scout. Works like every other scout, it gives you +1 initiative. Okay, now we move on to the warriors. First we have the runner. He has melee attack on one side, initiative of 2, and like I said, he has mobility, so on each turn for the player, he can move this runner 1 space away and then rearrange his orientation, or he can simply leave him where he is and move his orientation. It's up to him. Then we have the thug. The thug has an initiative of 2 and has melee on 2 sides and 2 melee points on 1 side. Next we have the ganger, has initiative 3 and melee on 1 side. Gladiator's up next. He has armor on 3 sides, and he also has 2 melee attacks on those 3 sides. He has +1 toughness and a 1 initiative. Next we have the netter. You've seen him in action. He nets things. Okay, as soon as he's placed on the board. Now what I didn't really get into during the gameplay is, say we have the netter out and he nests this guy. This guy's killed off at some point in the game. Okay. Later on, if a player ever places a token down next to the netter again, that guy is net. Okay, so it's not a one-time effect. Okay, it happens as soon as the netter is placed, and then any time a token is set adjacent to the netter. What we have next is the guard. Now the guard has melee on 3 sides, initiative 2, +1 toughness. Next we have the universal soldier here. Seen him in action. He can have ranged or melee attack on 1 side, has an initiative of 3. Then we have the, what's he called, netmaster. Okay, he'll net something on 2 sides and attack melee on 1, has an initiative of 2. The hegemony's base has the ability to give +1 melee to any unit adjacent to it, any friendly unit adjacent to it. Okay, so that is the hegemony. The outpost here is the last regular standing army of humankind. The outpost wages war against Moloch at its very borders. After several years of guerrilla warfare, humans invented numerous effective ways of fighting the dreadful machines. The hit-and-run tactic is crucial while standing against a stronger opponent. The outpost is never in one place, always on the move, slipping away from ambushes and traps as one mobile city. Thanks to many victories against Moloch's forces, the outpost has taken over some modern technology and uses it against the machines themselves. Mobility is the main advantage of the outpost deck. It also includes a considerable number of battle tiles. so the controlling player may easily use any opportunity for a quick attack. Moreover, a diversity of modules, including ones that affect the enemy, can change the course of the battle within seconds. The main disadvantage is a smaller number of fighting units and their low toughness. The best starting place for the HQ is in the center of the board. It enables the outpost to move its HQ around using move tiles to avoid enemy attacks. Only when the board is almost full should the HQ back out and place friendly units around to protect it. Okay, next we have the outpost. Now the outpost is a movement army pretty much. Okay, if we look at their instant tiles, they had the battle, they had the movement tiles, and then they had the sniper, works the same as the hegemony. Okay, then we go on to their modules. We've seen the medic, the scout, and the officer, but they also have this saboteur, which any adjacent opponent's tile will have -1 initiative. Okay, so if we had this guy here, which normally has a 3 initiative, it will now have a 2 initiative because this has -1. As long as that tiles on the board and it is adjacent to an enemy unit. Next we have the recon center here. That will allow any unit that has mobility on it the opportunity to move twice instead of just once, as long as this tile is on the board. Okay, as soon as that's destroyed, then those tiles with the mobility on it can only move once like normal. Okay, and finally we have the scoper, this guy down here. Now the scoper works a little differently. When the scoper is connected to an enemy module, that module will now affect the outpost units attached to it instead of the enemy's units. Okay, so here this gives +1 range and melee to an adjacent Moloch unit usually, but being that the scoper is down, it will give the +1 melee to this guy instead. Okay, so in effect he has 3 hit points in melee. Okay, now for the warriors. First we had the runner. He has melee on one side, he has mobility, and an initiative of 2. Next we have the HMG. He has ranged attack on one end, and he goes initiative 2 and an initiative 1. Next we have the commando. He has an initiative 3. He does range attack on one side. Then we have the annihilator. He does 2 range attacks on one side, and he has an initiative of 2. Then we have mobile armor. Okay, this guy is mobile. He has range attack on one side, 2 points of melee on the other, and then he goes in initiative 3 and initiative 2. And then the final warrior we have is the brawler. He goes on initiative 3, does 2 points of melee damage on one side. The HQ special ability is that the unit attached to it can perform an additional attack according to its lowest initiative. Okay, so say we had this guy here attached to the HQ. He would do his attack on initiative 3, and then all the initiative 3s would do their attack. And then he would attack again on initiative 2. All the initiative 2s would do their attack, and then he would be able to attack again on the initiative 2, their lowest initiative. Okay? And that is the outpost army. Okay, and the Borgo. Since the beginning of the war, Moloch has created numerous generations of mutants, more or less effective on the battlefield. Enhanced growth rate, genetically engineered, and high combat skills are the essence of mutants' abilities. Their various breed roam the barren lands and fight for every inch of land, quite often against one another. The scatter groups have finally become united by the charismatic cyber mutant Borgo, who leads its horde against humanity under his defiling banner of biohazard. Quickness is the main advantage for the Borgo army, thanks to high initiative levels and numerous scouts. Additionally, the Army has a lot of fighting units and good enhancements in the form of modules. The main drawback is the lack of shooting units, which makes it necessary for all Borgo forces to engage in melee combat. Borgo HQ, thanks to its special ability, is most effective in the center of the board surrounded by friendly units. Another good idea is to scatter the fighting units so that they can attack enemies in several directions and clear the battlefield. Okay, and finally we have Borgo. Now, like I said, my game is the Z-Man edition, which has the Doomsday Machine expansion already built into it. But I'm not going to go into that because Portal is now releasing Neuroshima Hex with only the 4 base factions. Okay, now with the Borgo instance, we have Battle, Movement, and then Grenade. Now, the Grenade will destroy any enemy unit that you choose to. Okay, so you show the token, say I want to destroy this unit here, and it's destroyed. Okay, take it off the board, it's gone forever. Okay, now for the modules, we had the Medic, the Scout, and the Officer, like usual. We went through them before. And then we have this guy here, the Super Officer. Okay, he will give +1 melee to any unit attached to his little spoke there. And he has a toughness of 1, so instead of being killed on 1 damage, it'll take 2. Alright, for the warriors, we have the Mutant. Does melee on 3 sides, initiative of 2. Then we have Claws. Claws here has melee on 2 sides and an initiative of 3. Then we have the Net Fighter. He has an initiative of 1. He throws a net and he does 3 points of melee damage to the unit he just disabled. Next, we have the Super Mutant. He has armor on 3 sides. He does 2 points of melee damage on one of those 3 sides, and then on the other 2, he does 1 point of damage. He has an initiative of 2 and a +1 toughness. Then we have the Brawler. Does 2 points of melee damage on one side, and he has an initiative of 2. The final warrior is the Assassin. He has ranged attack on one side, an initiative of 3, and he has mobility. The Borgo's base will give +1 initiative to any friendly unit surrounding that HQ tile.